Hi, I'm Heather from Heathermaid, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my yarns today and the different ways in which I dye the yarn. First of all, this one is a new yarn for me. It's Alpaca Divine Sock, and it's merino, alpaca and nylon, and it's dyed in a semi-solid to solid colourway. With these I'll often dye one colour and then over dye it with another colour. Just it makes it a little bit more interesting. You get a lot more depth of colour in the yarn. This is also a 4-ply sock yarn. This is my sock, which is merino, yak and nylon. Another 4-ply, but this is not sock yarn. This is really luxurious, soft baby alpaca, silk and cashmere. I call it Allure, and you'll find that in a lot of solid, semi-solid colours too. This one, Mystical DK, is an 8-ply merino, yak and silk, and it has that lovely shine from the silk. I also have my gem range, Gem 100 and Gem 150. This is merino, cashmere, nylon, and I'm not sure if you can see, that one has got quite a lot of different blues in the skein because of that over dyeing with different colours. With the other ways that I dye, sometimes I'll dye in shades or tones of one colour, maybe put a little bit of speckling on it. This is a 4-ply sock yarn, my luxury sock range. Sometimes I'll just do speckles just by themselves. Other ways that I will dye yarn is what I call space dye. This one here, you can see it's got lovely tones of green and blue, aqua, and if I untwist it you can see that there are blocks of colour around the skein, and all the yarn in that block is being dyed with the same colour, and that will repeat around and around the skein. This one has been dyed with the same colours virtually at the same time, but this one I've applied the dye in a much more random way, and you see that the colours mix up a little bit more and there's no blocking of the colours around the skein. This one I would call variegated. Here's another one that I've space dyed with a few speckles on it. This is an 8-ply sock yarn, and the colourway here is Kookaburra. As well as the space dyed and variegated, I do self-striping. So we have 8-ply sock yarn in self-striping, 4-ply sock yarn in self-striping, and I also have 100% wool self-striping yarn, which knits up a bit like this when you knit up my head twister hat pattern. The 8-ply self-striping, 100 grams will make a pair of socks. These are a size 10 men's. If you wanted to make it go a bit further, you could add in a contrasting mini skein. The mini skeins come separate, but also I have them in sets. The 4-ply sock yarn might knit up like this. I also mix up stripes and speckles. So this one is the 8-ply sock yarn. It's got some solid stripes but also some speckled strip sections, and this is how that would knit up. The 4-ply, also I have speckles and stripes. This one's got 3 solid colours and a speckled section. Another way that I will dye yarn is what I call transition, where I have maybe 4 or 5 colours that I use, but in between those colours I get a transition colour by mixing those colours. So this one will start off at the grey and it goes through a range of browns through to another bluey grey from one end of the skein to the other, so there's no repeating. And this is how it might knit up. That was DK Bliss, which I do in the transition colourway. That's an 8-ply 100% wool. I also do the 4-ply sock yarn, the luxury sock, in a transition way, and you get two 50-gram little skeins that will match, and you'll go from one colour through to the other across the skein, and this is what it can look like. So that's just a bit of a run through my yarn and the way I dye, and I hope you can join me on Facebook or Instagram, or Ravelry and Etsy. I have yarn, I have patterns. I'm Heathermaid through all the socials, Ravelry and Etsy. Come join me. Thank you.